Hey YouTube, Kiraqualia here, bringing you all my latest Cardfight Vanguard deck collection for 2020. It's actually been more than a year since my last Cardfight Vanguard deck collection update. I didn't think that much time had passed. I usually try to, give an update to the deck collection at least, once a year. And coming around, I believe this is the fifth video we'll be doing for just me showing all the different decks I've collected for Cardfight Vanguard for both premium and standard format. The collection definitely has shrunken over the past year. I've moved a lot of premium decks to other people that could just, put a better use to it. I don't play premium as much as standard, but still have a pretty good amount of, the decks gathered up. I believe I went from having 30 premium decks down to 12 from what I have now, but still a lot has changed with the collection with the addition of new standard decks that I use and just, trying to update the premium decks with the latest cards from the latest booster packs to at least keep up with the format, because there are still a lot of them that I do enjoy playing still, depending on, what kind of clan they are, and just ones I'll probably end up keeping and not getting rid of or, selling to people that are interested. But enough talk, let's go ahead and jump right in. I think we're going to start with the standard decks and then show the premium at the end. So we'll go ahead and start off with the most recent deck for the deck profiles, and that is the Beast Deity deck. I've gone back and forth with a bunch of different Nova Grappler decks, with Beast Deities being my latest one. I didn't actually build, God Hand. I just didn't gather up enough of the stuff for it. I have a good amount of it in my binder, but I just have to get around to actually building it. But Beast Deities have been a lot of fun. I actually picked up the whole deck from someone for a trade for Yu-Gi-Oh!, which I always enjoy, just trading Yu-Gi-Oh! For Vanguard. So traded a Sky Striker deck and I believe a few Ultimate Rares for the entire Beast Deity deck, so I was definitely happy about that. It's a really, really fun deck. I was always a fan of Azure Dragon when it came out during the Asia Circuit series, and just the fact that we also got its Cross Ride to add with the deck. If we get some more Beast Deities down the line, I think that'd be even more awesome. I did have Risers originally for the deck, so maybe if we even get some more Riser support, I can rebuild that one and have both the Azure Dragon deck and the Riser deck to use hand in hand. I think we're also might be getting a Sentinel reprint later on, so that just will make it all the easier, so I don't have to swap back and forth between the Sentinels where both of the decks also. For some of the other ones, I'm just grabbing, whichever one is closest, but sticking to the standard for the first one. I think I have 9 standard decks in total for Vanguard. The next one being Spike Brothers. I actually got this Spike Brother deck from my girlfriend. She traded it to me for Buddy Fight in exchange. Basically, not wanting this deck anymore. She was looking to get more into the game of Buddy Fight. Didn't really have much to trade for me at the time, but offered this, which I took. It's still a really, really cool deck. It's got most of the updated stuff from the latest set for Spike Brothers, including the Dead Heat Bull Spike. But I believe we do need just, some more stuff to add to the consistency of the deck. I'm curious as to what else they can give us for the support for Spike Brothers, aside from giving us new units, because they've already made Juggernaut Maximum, Bad End Dragger, all of those different cards. I believe, the next thing we could get is just the stuff from G. I believe, I don't remember his name off the top of my head. If anyone remembers the main Spike Brother unit from G, or we can even get some more Dudley cards. I was always a fan of Dudley's, but Spike Brothers, I definitely do think it's fitting just for the Imaginary Gift Force. Next best thing being Excel for the deck, but very fun deck. Holding on to it, it might always just be a trade option deck if I don't play it enough compared to some of the other decks in the collection, but still nice to have, just to have different options for people looking for different decks also. The next one, another recent one that I made, is the Hamsuke Great Nature deck. Now, of all the Great Nature support we received, Leopold and all the new ones, if I was going to build any, Great Nature deck for standard format, it was going to be Hamsuke. I was always a fan of the original Hamsuke. I ran it as backup with my first Limit Break deck being Leopold, and using Hamsuke just as backup in that deck was definitely very, very easy for the fact that it wasn't a high rarity card like it is today, being a triple rare. It was just, I believe a rare, and then the grade 2 and the grade 1 Hamsukes were commons, but, bounced up to triple rare, foil treatment, and also made the main unit of the deck, which I think is awesome. You had to usually run the old Hamsuke as a backup until we got the newer Hamsuke support with the latest G support when we received it, being all of the different Hamsuke classmates. And I do want to end up making an update to the premium version of this deck. I know I have a lot of the good Hamsuke support that can work with that also, and all the other different grade 3s might just just swap around the grade 3 options for some better ones, but just having the, pencil hero Hamsuke as your main Vanguard is always the best option I'd say to go for the additional imaginary gift, excels you get, and the working with the different Pencil Knight and Pencil Squire Hamsukes also. And moving right along, this one, my main one, I'm even going to show the deck box for it because it's my main deck that I always swap back and forth between. You can just see all the extra cards that I have here. Try to sleeve at least most of the higher rarity ones, and that is my Kagero standard deck. Now, I move, like I said, back and forth between a lot of different decks here just to always change up my playstyle. The one I have currently in here was my latest deck profile that I also did, and that is Nouvelle. And with that, I have all the Nouvelle support, including Dragonic Overlord and the grade 1 and 2 counterparts for Nouvelle. But a lot of the extra stuff that I also have for the deck are just the different forms of Dragonic Overlord at the end, which they are not sleeved, but I just have so many extra sleeves in here for some of the other cards, including the Great, which I believe is a little more expensive than the End as well, but have some of the SVR ones in some sleeves also. Also have some of the, which I'm definitely excited for, the, I believe it was in here, the Blademaster. Also got the extra quick shields to get ready for that. But yep, there he is, Dragonic Blademaster. Very, very excited for Cullen when he comes out. So definitely probably going to end up swapping the two decks because you don't really need too much from the Dragonic Overlord and the Nouvelle support for the Dragonic Blademaster support that we'll be getting. And I'll be able to make 2 different decks in total, but also using the bigger Dragonic Overlord deck box means that you can fit all of these cards together and then just swap around when I use them. Plus the deck box just stays on my desk. It doesn't rattle around a lot to damage any of the cards that aren't in the sleeves. But I've had Kagero since the beginning. The Dragonic Overlord, the End deck, was one of my favorites. It's one of the premium decks I still have as well, with the End just being scattered all over my room for all the different resources I use also for them, whether it be for deck profiles, just collection purposes, you name it. I have plenty of support for Kagero. It all works very, very well together. My original clan used to be Oracle Think Tank, but switched over to Kagero after I went to a locals and saw this really cool guy playing Kageros very, very well. Made me want to play it, and then I just fell in love with Dauntless Dote, which was my first real taste of Kagero in total playstyle. Dauntless Dragon being one of my favorites still to use, and all the different decks with the restand power also. We got a few more, standard decks to go through. Another one being Musketeers. I didn't fully update this. I really want to get the rest of the support to finish this. I just never got around to doing it, but, I got a good majority of all the different Musketeer support. We just got some latest ones from the Eska booster pack, but this, the fact that you can make a full sub-archetype deck in, sub-clan deck, in standard format, in the form of, Musketeers. It was one of my favorites at the time. Cecilia, when it came out in Blue Storm Armada, was the main card I went for. Everyone else was going for, Aqua Force at the time with Maelstrom. I was just trying to get all of these Cecilias for Musketeers. And even then, for backup grade 3s, we didn't really have a lot. I think the backup grade 3 to Cecilia at the time for Limit Break was just the one where, you discard draw when it hits, or it's either that or a 12k attacker. And then Kaivant, Rebecca, all the other ones that just went with the retire play, which they still do here, but also works with the tokens that you make, giving you an extra bonus, and that's why I really do like the deck as well. I didn't really think Rekka was fitting for the deck. I do think she fit more for Angel Feather, but they also just need a character to give the Neo Nectars, to in the anime also. So I guess she filled the spot since Suiko was sticking to Angel Feather also. And moving right along as I look through the other decks and try not to knock over any of them, one of my more stronger decks that I've kept updated also is Shadow Paladin. Now, I didn't update this to Claret Sword fully. I tried to, I just couldn't gather up all the Claret Sword support, so I decided to keep with the Mordred Phantom. I still need one more SVR Mordred Phantom. I've got the one from the Koshian, so I think that might even be a higher rarity or more difficult one to get than the SVR one, but I just think the SVR one is very cool, so I'm almost done for a playset of that, along with the added backup support for all the different cards. I think I still need 2 more Masquerade also, but all the new support, we've been getting it, even in the Claret Sword support, just good support for Blaster Dark. Did I say Blaster Blade at the beginning? Blaster Dark is what I meant. Just all together to make it work as a deck with the main function being Blaster Dark. I know we're getting an errated version of this quite soon also. That'll work with Majesty Lord Blaster, so that's going to be quite fun. And I just have, just like Kagero, just a bunch of different cards to swap out and test, because I really really think that's, where the most fun of Vanguard comes down to, when you just test out different cards and see what works for you the best in your deck also. And now we have the double deck box, which I also believe is the final, decks for Standard. I always think, I don't have a lot, but with, all my different friends building different Standard decks and me not wanting to take away from them, allowing them to build it. Because then if I ever want to build the deck, I could just borrow and use theirs and then get to keep the ones I build myself. Mega Colony, I have, updated Mega Colony to the latest support also. I believe we had Machining Spark Hercules originally. Now I have Cyclomatooth and Gunning Colio for the main use, still using the War Antlion. But when that set came out, I had a friend building Spike Brothers, and I had a friend building Tachikaze, so I took the last remaining one, which was Mega Colony, which still is very, very fun. The whole, premise with the machining support we had originally with that deck really worked well, but now just having the additional drive check power with this unit as well works very, very well for that quadruple drive you can potentially get, and then just all the easy setup for your grade 3 searches is what I really do like about the deck. Not so much a paralyze aspect as it used to be, but also just being able to collect all the different, Imaginary Force, Protect 2 markers really did make the deck look very, very well for all the different support we had, since I really do like collecting the force markers also. But still a very fun deck to use also, just for that hand consistency you can get against your opponent is the one thing I definitely do like about this deck. And the final Standard deck that I have for the collection is the Dimension Police Dimensional Robos, which once again has also been fully updated using all of the new support, including the Great Dayusha. I have a very high grade 3 count in this deck, but I just think that's how the deck works. And as I was organizing it for this video, I just got so much nostalgia. I wanted to replay this deck, but, just waiting until me and my friends can gather all back up together again. But also just, with all the new support, I completely forgot that I had fully updated this deck also to the new Standard support, but really glad I did and can't wait to test it out once, I'm able to play card games again, because it has been a long time since I've actually played an actual card game. But we are through all of the Standard decks now. For those of you that are just a fan of Standard, you can stop there, but we're going to move on to the remainder of the premium decks I have. And like I said before, for the premium ones, they are not fully updated for a good amount of them for, premium support. They're still kind of the G format decks, but we'll go ahead and jump right in. My first one being the Dragonic Overlord deck. Now this one I have tried to update as much as I can with all the different support. The Wyvern Guard Bari triggers are with my Standard Kagero, but as for the other support, I still got all these strides. I think I'm missing one SP Ziegenberg for the deck. But other than that, even the new Progenitor Dragons, just to, keep the deck up to date with easy strides. I have Dragonic Overlord, the Legend, in here as a placeholder for the actual Dragonic Overlord at the end, because I like trying out the X-Legion with this deck, but the Legend still comes up as a good stride object target also. And just going with the other generic support for the grade 2s and 1s. With the new premium collection, I may even be updating the other triggers, which I have, Dragon Dancer Takia, which is the latest one with the new updated shield numbers also. But just going back again, Kagero was my, main clan for a long time, still is, and I just like to keep updating the deck with whatever new support they had. They updated Kai with a bunch of new cards all throughout the G series, and I think the, the Purge, and also the Destiny, I believe it was. There's just so many different Dragonic Overlord names. It's awesome, but also just difficult at times keeping up to what all the different names are. And the fact that we're getting Dragonic Overlord the X in Standard makes me all the more excited to fully update Kagero and see what will be the best backup support for Dragonic Overlord the X. If they do something that works with the end on Rearguard, I think that'll be really cool. Unless they've all, already revealed the effect. I don't think they have. I definitely would have heard something by that time. And, I completely messed up, and I knew this was going to happen. So, those of you sticking around still, thanks for it. But we do got one more deck, and I feel bad for forgetting. It was right underneath the desk here, and that is Tsukuyomi. I always like to keep an Oracle Think Tank deck, and Tsukuyomi was my favorite. So yeah, we got that one more Standard deck to go through. We already did the one premium deck, but still, we've got Tsukuyomi as well. This one, I've gone through Magus, I've gone through Imperial Daughter with Standard, but I finally settled down and very, very happy with Tsukuyomi as a deck. I love the foil texture they gave to all the different Tsukuyomis in this set, and I decided to go with the 12 critical. You just get enough, protect 1 markers with this deck that you don't really need sentinels as much, and that's what I like to do for the play style in the deck, and, hoping to one day get enough SVRs to fully foil out the main grade 3 Tsukuyomi also, but feel completely bad for forgetting this. But with that, yes, we are completely done with the standard. We've done 1 premium so far. I'm double checking. Yep, no more standard. All that is left in the pile are the premium decks, the next one being Beast Deities. Now this one I feel bad about. I have tried trading or selling this deck multiple times to a lot of people. It's not really that up to date, but still limit break fun is why I like to think. It's even got the Beast Deity strides, and I don't think it's that expensive either, but it'll stick with me until that one lucky person decides to pick up the Beast Deity deck and just have some fun with it. I know we have the standard Beast Deity as one of my other decks, but just anyone who's nostalgic for limit break and all of those different cards would definitely enjoy that deck, I believe, just for the different fun you could have with old limit break format also. And makes me want to rebuild other things too, like Legion. It was always fun. I still have my Dragonic Overlord the Great in my binder collection, so if I can ever get those, for sure. But Kagero still being one of my main go-to decks also is, the Cullen Dragonic Blademaster. Completely, had a brain fart for a second there. Cullen, latest one, we're getting it in standard. Can't wait to see what it does. But all the other support, I had so many SP pools from this set. I almost fully foiled it out. I have the full, Dumjid Sentinel SP foil out. I believe I did buy a case of that set when it came out, and that's how I had a good majority of all the cards for this deck completely foiled out. For some of the other support, we've also got Aqua Force. My one friend Nick builds Aqua Force as his main, but Tetra Drive always had a special place in my heart. I built this originally when it came out in Catastrophic Outbreak with the Transcore Break Ride and also Tetra Drive Dragon. Then when I got more and more support specifically for Tetra Drive, it just made me all the more happy to still have this deck with all the different support we've gotten for it. And just the overall pressure you can do with your stride makes it a really, really fun deck. If we get Tetra Drive in standard, I think that'll be awesome too. We have Maelstrom and also last card Revan. I'm sure we can get Tetra Drive next. We're basically going in order for the release of Aqua Force. Now, as for Bermuda Triangle, I had a good amount of Bermuda Triangle over the years. I'm down to 1 Bermuda Triangle deck. I think I had 7 at one point, and we just have my favorite one, which are Prisms. I've always been a fan. I've got plenty of SPs for the Prism deck. Also got the fully fledged sleeves for them. Also, I think this is the only deck that I use the actual anime sleeves to sleeve it up, but it looks amazing, and just really, really happy with it, how much support it's received from Limit Break all the way up to the final steps of Stride format. Really made for a fun deck to use, which is the overall search. You didn't have to rely on, striding too much. You could just go solo Limit Break if you're going up against that type of opponent, or rely on the strides if you need be, because they've definitely gotten a lot of them. I think 4 different strides in total, which could make for a full G zone if you weren't going to use any of the G guards, which I have moved with the other Bermuda Triangle decks when I sold them, and we're down to 1. Like I said, just 1 Bermuda deck, but I'm happy with that. I kept the one I wanted, didn't really use any of the other ones, and glad they're being put to use for other players also. For other decks, for Great Nature, still got my G format Great Nature deck. Had plenty of support for this. I even had 2 identical ones at one point until I sold the second one. I didn't really need a second Great Nature deck. I was fine with just the one to use with Big Belly and all of the different support for it also. And I sometimes just makes me forget how much I went aggro with my decks when I was building them in G format with 12 critical. Just that consistency, but the fact that you drew so much with Great Nature also. But I had that deck since the second set of G format also, the original Big Belly using Tusk, I believe, the elephant, as the backup support. Just really good pressure, and the fact that they added the draw power to the Great Nature deck made it all the better also. Now this is a G deck I still use. It's a lot of fun. Demiurge, just being able to get all the different Zodiac Time Beasts. It's also the one deck I didn't really organize that much, just because there's just a bunch of different Zodiac Time Beasts that all go throughout the deck, and just being able to reorganize the top of your deck and then attack with Demiurge, get 3 triggers, set up your heal triggers after that. That is the fun goal that you always like to have, and this one definitely. With that set when it came out, I did make Chronojet, but that's the one Gear Chronicle deck I have left. I am hoping to build Chronojet for standard format, which is definitely going to be a lot of fun also, but also just be able to rely on what's sort of like a stride format using different cards like Next Stage in standard format also. Plus my other friends are building Asha and Alt Mile, so I figured I'd stick with the Chronojet deck, since I also never got around to building the Chrono Tiger deck either. Oracle Think Tank, one more. Didn't forget Oracle Think Tank for premium. But Susanoo, I've got a pretty good amount of the strides. I can't remember if this is the card that was hit on the premium list. Like I said, I don't keep up with premium too much. I believe it's not this one. I believe it's her newest form. But, you know, Susanoo, when G format was a thing, no one in my group actually wanted to build Susanoo. So I decided to build it. Everyone else was going for Nova Grappler, Victor, Gear Chronicle, Alt Mile, you name it, because in that set we didn't have Asha yet. So they were the picks for those. And I decided to go for Kagero, being Dragonic Blademaster, which was only a double rare, and Oracle Think Tank. Now we've got 4 decks for premium left. The other one being another Mega Colony deck. This one is full machining, so all the different machining support, especially back then when you had to run all the cards to be machining for the deck. Otherwise, you know, you wouldn't get a lot of the effects off. You wouldn't have the consistency with the strides, which I've also noticed strides have kept a pretty good value over the years compared to standard format, because most of the time you're going to use a lot of the standard cards for the decks, but you're still going to need the different strides to use in those sets also, which is cool though, because then at least it keeps people who have the old support, you know, just up in the air still with being able to move a lot of those cards also. One more Oracle Think Tank deck as well is Magus. This is the G format Magus using the old Break Rye hexagonal Magus with some of the newer support as well mixed in. I don't believe I have too much for the standard format aside from the triggers in the set, which I did decide to update a good amount for those also, but still decided to keep the original Lozenji Magus, not criticals, heal triggers. Just so nostalgic with the shuffle, especially now when I'm playing Vanguard Zero also. Just being able to use those old cards, that's when all the nostalgia is definitely kicking in. All right, the last 2, and you know, I actually forgot I had these many Oracle Think Tank decks for G format. Battle Sisters, we do have a good amount of Battle Sister support in standard. I could probably update this deck with some of the new support just to help with the overall potential that the deck can do. I think we even have Battle Sister Ginger in the form of a standard trigger. I know we got a reveal for a new draw trigger for Battle Sisters. I don't know if it's Ganache. It might be the original Tiramisu, I believe. But also we got the new heals coming out, plenty of strides for Battle Sisters to work with in the deck. Yeah, it's definitely a deck I do want to look to update at least. And I saw the price of Battle Sister Chocolate now. That is insane. The original Battle Sister Chocolate, I don't know why, unless it's just, collector's purpose thing as to why it's so expensive or just impossible to find. But the last deck, and probably one of my favorites for G format still, is Gurgit, being the overall potential play of calling rear guards. This just made Gold Paladin the truly fun part of G format, just having all that consistency for the multiple attacks, the different strides, the different trigger counts you could do. It definitely made for the deck, and the fact that we got so many different Gurgit strides also to rely on made it all the more fun. The fact that he got a quadruple drive, consistency for calling out units, and then the best one, which was the pressure call, just bumping up the attack of everything on the field for that power on your Sunrise Radiant Gurgit sword. But I am still a fan of the original Gurgit also, along with the new one. The new one's great for defensive capabilities, but I still love this one for the offensive power and just the easy way to call out all your different rear guards, which made it one of the last Gold Paladin decks I definitely want to keeping it in the Gaillard deck box, which I do probably want to build Prominence Core at one point again as one of the Legion decks. My most fun match in the anime to watch was Kai versus Gaillard. You know, they always had some awesome fights. I think they fought 3 or 4 times at least during that whole season, which each one was great to watch also. But other than that, we are through the entire collection. Like I said the collection dwindled, but in the end, when you combine standard and premium, it definitely does feel like a lot of decks in total. But I hope you all enjoyed the video. As always, I love doing these. It just gives me so much nostalgia going through all the different decks I still have. And, you know, next year when I do another one of these videos, who knows what I'll have left? Who knows what I'll have added on? That's definitely just the fun in total for it. But until next time, please all don't forget to leave a like and subscribe. And Kiraqualia out.